Welcome, everybody, to the Ray Shasho Show, brought to you by the Publicity Works Agency. Each week, Ray spotlights in-depth interviews with legendary and up-and-coming authors and music artists. Ray also features the movers and the shakers of the music and publishing industries and suggests important methods for getting the most out of your public relations and marketing needs. Please welcome music journalist, author, and entrepreneur, Ray Shasho.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ray Shasho, and welcome to the show where we spotlight legendary and up-and-coming music artists and authors, brought to you by the Publicity Works Agency. Call us today at 941-877-1552 or visit www.publicityworksagency.com. Remember, we shine only when we make you shine. And on this Memorial Day of 2016, I'd just like to say that our prayers, gratitude, and respect are with every soldier who lost their lives, so all of us may enjoy freedom and persevere together as a great nation. God bless you all. Our very special guest today is author and entrepreneur Teresa Hailey. Bringing together the minds and voices of authors across the country, author Teresa Hailey worked to create a volume that will empower readers through inspiring short stories. Her new collection of short stories, Shining Stars, Inspiring Stories and Simple Steps to Empower You to Achieve Your Highest Potential, was written to give readers the motivation to do whatever their hearts desire. Shining Stars consists of 12 motivational and inspirational stories told by 12 authors across the U.S. They are Paul R. Bryant, Shirley Clark, Teresa Hailey, Harold Parker, Sarah Bryant, Staff Sergeant Joshua Harris, Stan Harris, Joshua Schuler, Evelyn Bethune, Hasaan Rasheed, Jamal and Katrina Ferguson. They come from a range of locations across the country, including Texas, Colorado, Illinois, Florida, and Maryland. Each author contributes one chapter to the book. The book shares the message that people must learn to work together and that regardless of life's challenges, drugs and alcohol are not the answer. These themes unite the variety of voices present in the book. Hailey designed the book to empower others to reach their highest potential. A Colorado businessman paid for the book to be published because of this. Hailey wanted this book to be a blessing for others. She will be giving 1,000 copies of the book to her church, Scott United Methodist Church of Denver. The church will sell the books and keep the proceeds. Books will also go to the United Way of Greater St. Louis to benefit a business owner that lost their business to the rioting in Ferguson, Missouri. Teresa Hailey discovered her organizational talent at an early age. At 14, she founded and directed Twigs, Tiny Workers in God's Service. Twigs members, ages 5 through 15, sponsored various fundraising activities for Scott United Methodist Church in Denver, Colorado. As a teen, Teresa was first vice president of Thomas Jefferson High School's chapter of the Distributive Education Club of America. Denver Public Service Company recognized Teresa as Student of the Month in October of 1977 and awarded her a cash prize. In September 1979, Teresa began laying the groundwork for a Denver youth chapter of the NAACP and served as president of that group until 1983. Under her direction, the chapter initiated numerous educational and youth-oriented programs. Politics is a very important part of Teresa's life. She has worked in political campaigns from the state representative level up to the presidential level, gaining her most rewarding experiences while living in Atlanta, Georgia. Teresa traveled throughout the state working on Reverend Jesse Jackson's 1984 presidential campaign. After an incident during a voter registration drive, Teresa calmly faced down 5 Ku Klux Klan members dressed in full KKK regalia. Her will and determination to stand up and fight for justice rewarded her with an opportunity to travel with the late Reverend Hosea Williams, a renowned leader on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s staff. Here are just a few 5-star reviews for Shining Stars, Inspiring Stories, and Simple Steps to Empower You to Achieve Your Highest Potential. Shining Stars is a must-read. 11 different people from all over the U.S. came together and wrote one chapter in the book. The book shares the message that people must learn to work together and that regardless of life's challenges, drugs and alcohol are not the answers. These themes unite the variety of voices present in the book. As a co-author of Shining Stars, I had no idea what the other authors were going to submit. I can attest that it has been a pleasurable experience reading their personal stories, testimonies, and receiving wisdom through their many varying walks of life, an inspirational piece that anyone can connect with. And I would like to thank, for being on the show today, Teresa Hailey. Teresa, welcome to the show, especially on a Memorial Day holiday. How are you today?
Well, thank you so much, Ray. It's certainly a blessing to be a guest on your radio talk show. It's certainly my honor and a privilege.
I thank you, and especially on a Memorial Day weekend, because most people are out there cooking hamburgers and hot dogs usually. Now, the weather in Denver now, how is it right now?
Well, right now it is raining and it's lightning and thunderstorming, but we shall survive.
Colorado has such a strange, weather system, doesn't it? It's either going to be cold, snow, hail. It's never when you think it's going to be like you never think it's going to be a regular summer or a regular winter. It's always at different times, isn't it?
Well, it's one thing about Colorado. If you don't like the snow, just hold on. You can wake up in the morning and it's snowing, and wear your boots and your hat, and by 12 noon it's raining, and by 5 p.m. it's 80 degrees outside.
And that's something.
People think that's crazy, but you have to be here to see it. Just the other day, I walked outside, and I turned to my right. I looked up in the sky, and it was a beautiful blue sky. I turned to my left, and the clouds was very dark. It looked like a tornado was coming in.
Really?
Yeah. So, you can't, even though it's May going into, we're days away from it being June, I can't even pull out my summer clothing because I still need my coat and my sweaters.
Yeah, that's right. Colorado seems to be the state that's really happening now. Everybody I talk to wants to move to Colorado.
Well, and I'm puzzled about that. It depends on who you speak to and what you read, that Colorado is rated the number one place to live. I don't understand that. It seems like the crime is just off the chain. The weather is crazy.
Right.
As far as the cost of living is concerned, I don't know if you've been keeping up with that, but I don't even understand how the average person can live here. A 1 to 2 bedroom apartment in a all right neighborhood is easy anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500 a month.
Really?
Yes. So I don't understand. But then there's a lot of people that are surviving and building. Builders, they can't even keep the labor here because people, are. The average home to build these days is $500,000, and that means that you have a very small backyard, a very small front yard, and that same house that cost $500,000, I had built probably about 5 years ago in Houston, Texas, where I closed at $150,000. So I don't understand, but when it's nice out. Colorado is nice. Please don't get me wrong.
Right.
As far as skiing, there's a lot to do. It's just that I'm still a little confused at how we're rated number one.
Right. Well, it's a mystery, but it's one thing for sure about Colorado: the scenery is gorgeous. You can't get scenery like that anywhere. The mountains are beautiful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You had a very interesting life. Let's talk a little bit about your background in history. I know a couple of things. First of all, when we first chatted, I was thinking, wow, maybe she's related to Alex Haley, and come to find out you are. Even though Alex Haley had spelled it H-A-L-E, and yours is H-A-I-L-E-Y. How did you first find out you guys were related?
My father's name is George Haley. And Alex's brother's name is George Haley.
Really?
But and my father is responsible for our family reunions. And my father and one of his brothers were really interested in getting together with other Haleys across the United States. And, just to make a very long story short, my father contacted Alex Haley. If I have my facts correct, it might have been maybe 10, 15 years ago.
Right.
And they got to corresponding, and it's like, well, who's your mother and who's your grandmother and who's your aunt, that sort of thing, because that's how when you can start doing research on who's related to who.
Right.
And the summer that, and then Alex Hailey, because of who he is, he did research and told my father, we are related. And so when we had our Hailey family reunion that was going to be held in Georgia, and this was maybe a matter of fact, the summer that Alex was supposed to come to the family reunion, it's my understanding that he passed,
right.
I think weeks before the family reunion is supposed to take place. But that was going to be the off-the-chain family reunion, the family reunion that you wanted to be to,
right.
because he was going to sit down and connect the dots and you relate, that sort of thing. And he didn't make it. But, one of the things that he explained to my father is that back in slavery, a lot of women, they had their babies and their children at their master's home, or they didn't have, access to hospitals. And as far as birth certificates were concerned, they spelled your name the way that they wanted to spell it.
Exactly. Right. That makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, it's nothing for us to be related to a Hailey that spells their name with an I, like myself, and then there's other Haileys that spell their Hailey without the I.
Right.
So, it's very important, and I think everybody needs to research their ancestors and find out, who's in their family, who's not, and, they'll be very amazed to find out, their family history.
Well, Alex Hailey did conceivable manner, the family is linked to our past, bridge to our future. That's a quote from Alex Hailey. Alex Hailey was also a customer of ours when we were in the electronics business in Washington, D.C., and he was such a nice man. Very, very nice man, yeah. And ironically, the Roots series premieres on the History Channel today.
I read that.
How about that?
I read that, and I understand that they're changing it. They're re-editing it. Or,
different characters are redoing it. I saw the original, and I also read the book. I actually took a Black History class in high school, and my assignment for the whole year was to read Roots and get questions put to me, and I had to answer a bunch of questions about the book. I did very, very well, by the way. It's a huge book.
Right, it is.
Yeah. This book is a great book. It makes people feel more empowered, especially when they've been going through tough times. They hear all these different stories from everybody. And you've had quite a bit of stories as well. Your apartment building actually burnt down, didn't it? And you got some help from, I guess you were working at Continental Airlines at the time, and they got you out of all this? Yeah.
Right. Basically, I started working at Continental in 1994, and I was here in Denver, Colorado. And I knew that if I wanted to advance, I would have to move to Houston, because Houston, of course, was a corporate office. But not only that, every time I flew someplace, I would have to change planes in Houston. And, of course, it's much better to fly nonstop versus changing planes. So, of course, I moved to Houston. And then the first year I was there, I did not have a car. And the public transportation in Houston is not that great. So, of course, I lived next door to the reservation center that I worked at.
Right.
And they posted signs all over the place. Do not barbecue on your balcony. And, of course, for some people, signs don't mean anything to them.
Right.
That does not pertain to them. And so I lived on the first floor. There was somebody that was on the third floor that was on their balcony, and they had a little barbecue pit, and they were smoking. And they had put the coals in the barbecue pit and then put the lightning fluid over the charcoals, and then lit the barbecue pit. And then when they finished their cigarette, they just threw the cigarette down. But they threw the cigarette down in lightning fluid.
Wow.
And so I cannot even begin to tell you what it's like to stand and watch everything that you own burn. It is you can hear it over the TV, you hear it over the news, but until you go through it yourself, it gives you a different appreciation for life, for others' belongings. To this day, it still affects me. But yes, and working with Continental Airlines, they just, and it was not only just me, it was 10 other employees that lost everything. And so, I support the American Red Cross because they immediately came out, and there was, it was so long ago, but I think it was like maybe 50 apartments that was affected. And then the TV station, the radio stations got on board. And I guess within a day, and this is just how God works, within a day, even though I had lost everything, they put me in another apartment unit that was still in the complex. I had an apartment that was full of furniture, refrigerator full, and then as far as clothing was concerned, there was 3 or 4 different stores that just start bringing to the office clothes. And so what they did is they turned the clubhouse into a store. And so anybody that was affected by, you just had to show your ID. If you still had it, you could go in, and it's kind of like shop. You go in, you pick up towels and, whatever else. And then Continental, my employees, my coworkers, gave me money and gave me things. And so I would say within 72 hours after the fire, like I said, I had a full apartment full with furniture. But like I said, it was certainly a learning experience for me.
Well, lucky you were working with a great company that came out and helped you like that, because not too many companies today will probably do that,
Right.
Yeah. Now, did you retire with Continental Airlines?
Yes, I did.
You did, yeah. Now, Continental turned into another airline, right?
Continental is now, Continental and United merged.
And United, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, so there's no more Continental, it's just United.
Now, you said, I think it was you, didn't you say, I have learned that when you suffer any type of trauma, you have to pray about it, seek counseling, and have a very strong support system. That was you, right? Yeah.
Correct.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Most definitely. And, too often people, they, because nobody really likes to talk about their problems. And, like when people say, how are you doing, most people just say, fine, because, if you're going through something, I'm going through something, too. I have to deal with my own problems and my own situation. But you have to have a strong support system, regardless if it's at home, regardless if it's church, regardless if it's work, or, whoever it is. You have to have a strong support system and be able to talk, about incidents, because trust me, right now I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, even though I'm in the marijuana capital of the world.
Yeah. Maybe that's why they're moving there. I don't know. It could be. But I am for medical marijuana for sure, and I think Florida is on the verge of also passing that, because there's so many people that could benefit from that.
Right.
Yeah, so I do believe in that. Anyway, go ahead.
No, but I just look at the different people, and I'm just, I don't want to mention names, but, there was a national basketball player who, was fighting for his life. And, I just hope and pray, and I pray for him every day, just, because and it's a prime example how it doesn't matter if you're making $1 million a game or $2 million a game.
Right.
If you're not happy, you turn to something else that will make make you feel happy.
Right.
And I'm hoping that since God has given him a second chance, that he uses that to go out and speak. And I'm expecting him to write a book. I'm expecting him to write a movie. I'm expecting him to not only help himself but help to help others. And, I just can't stress about how helpful it is to have a strong support system.
Well, Shining Stars, Inspiring Stories and Simple Steps to Empower You to Achieve Your Highest Potential is like an awe-inspiring self-help guide from people who have lived through the difficult times but have persevered through hard work and education. And all through this book, I hear education, how important it is to go out there and read. And there's so many people or kids, that are lazy about reading. They'd rather just get on their cell phone and play with their cell phone. And that's how the great leaders of the past have gotten it anywhere. Yeah, it's through reading.
As a matter of fact, I recently read statistics someplace that states that regardless if it's high school or college, when a person graduates from high school or college, I would probably, and the numbers is very high, but I think it was like 70% people do not read a book. Once they graduate from high school or graduate from college, 70% will not read a full book to its entirety for the rest of their life.
Yeah,
that's alarming for me.
Yeah, it is.
It's very alarming. Most people will either pick up a book and, they'll read a chapter, they'll read the headlines, but, to read a book from start to finish is something that people just don't do. And it's really alarming to me for the simple fact that, and it's kind of disgusting if you think about it, but a rap song that has MF through it, the usage of the N-word,
right?
Okay, a teen or anyone, regardless of what their age is, will know the lyrics, will know every single word
right.
of that song,
right.
But yet we can't pick up a book that's going to educate us and that's going to make us better, but yet we can pick up something that, regardless if it's negative or positive, but does not really have any meaning to it. It's not going to help us. It's not going to motivate us. But we can certainly, we know our songs and we know our raps. So that's very discouraging. And as a matter of fact, I was looking at Facebook just the other day, and, here on Memorial Day, and I saw in Kentucky where someone had driven their car through a cemetery where they had placed some crosses up.
Yep.
And, for me, I'm like, what is wrong with America today?
I know.
Why are we so angry? Why are we so upset?
Yeah, my wife is from that town, Henderson, Kentucky. I got married there.
Oh, wow.
So I know exactly where that is. We have a friend that always puts the crosses there every Memorial Day because she does it for my father-in-law who passed but was in the infantry in Germany for World War II, and they always put a cross for him as well. And when I saw that, I just got sick. I said, "Oh, I don't know if he was like drunk or it was a mistake, or I don't even know if it was intentional or not. The guy doing that, I'm not sure. I don't know if we found out yet.
Yeah, but, I don't even think they've caught the person yet. But
I don't think so either. Yeah, but the book is wonderful. Yeah, I give it 5 stars. It's a great book. I love that the book is dedicated to Mary McLeod Bethune, who's, of course, the legendary American educator, stateswoman, philanthropist, humanitarian, civil rights activist, and best known for starting the African American school in Daytona Beach, which I believe became a college. Is that right? Did it become a college?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's still functioning to this
exactly,
this day.
Which is amazing. And she was a national advisor to Franklin Delano Roosevelt as well in his cabinet.
Right.
And she was known as the First Lady of the Struggle.
Right.
I love that you dedicated the book to her. And you also have her granddaughter is one of the authors in the book. Is that right?
That is correct. Evelyn Bethune, yes. Mm-hmm.
Which is wonderful. I really loved her paragraph. Besides your paragraph, I think I liked hers also is equal, what she wrote. I think it was The Journey.
Right.
Yep. I don't know if you probably know this, but she became the first African-American woman to own a NASCAR nationwide racing team. Did you know that?
Right.
Evelyn?
I did know that, and I also know that her grandmother has a stamp. I was trying to find the stamp, but I can't find her stamp anyplace.
Really?
Yeah, way back when.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, when you go to the post office,
right.
It really depends on who you talk to. Some people will say it's just not printed anymore. Others have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, I guess it's a challenge to find the stamp, but I'll look forward as well. If I find it, I'll send you one.
Okay, I appreciate it. But yes, education is very important to me, and that was another reason why I, wanted to write the book, because after I lost my apartment to the fire, then my mother, one day she called me and she had a cold, And then the next thing, the cold was just getting worse. She was coughing. Her nose was running. I was living in Houston. She was in Denver. And it just kept getting worse. And then I'll never forget, I came home that Thanksgiving. And she could not walk from the living room to the front door without stopping 6 or 7 times.
Right.
I got back on the plane Thanksgiving night, went back to Houston. Just as I was landing, I got a phone call from my brother saying that they had rushed my mother to the hospital. You need to get back on the plane and come back home. It's serious. And the doctors told us that she had lung cancer stage 4. And that there is nothing that they could do for her. Chemo would kill her, radiation would kill her, and I cannot even begin to tell you how that affected me, okay? And so basically I did not realize myself that I was getting depressed.
Right.
And anyway, long story short, and to jump to the point, is that while working at Continental, I knew that I wanted more, but I needed to have a bachelor's degree. I had an associate, but I needed to have a bachelor's. So when I decided to, after my mother passed, I decided to go back to college. I first went over to a junior college, and I flunked the whole entire year. I could not pass a class to save my life. And I'm the type of person I like to arrive at school maybe 15 minutes, 30 minutes early, you know, that sort of thing. So it wasn't that I was goofing off, and I just couldn't learn. And so I knew that something was wrong, and I went and I got tested, and basically the doctors told me that, told me and my father that I need to get Social Security, disability, because I would never be able to work, you know, for the rest of my life, and that I would never, ever be able to learn at the level so that I could graduate.
Really?
Well, once again, believing in God, I was like, you know, man said that, but God said, oh, yes, you will. And so, like I said, after the junior college, and I flunked all the classes, took the test, and it proved that I knew something was wrong. And so then I went over to Colorado Technical University, and because they have a tutoring department, my first year that I was over there, I was on the dean's list. So keep in mind, I went from being told, you're not going to ever learn at the level so that you can graduate, to being on the dean's list. And it was because of they had a tutorial program. And one of the things that when I love to speak to parents is that when a doctor tells you that your child has autism, or they tell your child will never be able to speak, or, you know, this is not going to happen, always just know that, you know, try one thing. If that doesn't work, try something else. And I have to do it with my own self. The way I learn is, I mean, if you was around me, you would probably just be in awe and amazement the way that I learn things. Because it's not like any, you know, I teach myself. There's times that I have to build blocks. I can learn by writing things down on a board.
Right.
I mean, it's just endless. But I just know that if I can't learn it one way, okay, stop. Instead of crying and screaming and hollering, leave this alone, let's try something else until we get it. And so July the 30th, 2016, I will be graduating with my bachelor's in business administration with a concentration in human resource.
Congratulations.
You know, so like I said, and then that's when I start reading about Dr. Bethune as far as education is concerned. It is so powerful, and it's something that will take you throughout the rest of your life. I
agree. What was the trigger, though, that turned things around for you? Did you said you were studying? Did you study differently, or what was the trigger that got you to turn things around? It's not easy, because most people get very discouraged, especially after flunking out like that, you know, and they put themselves down and things like that. I know you knew that there was something wrong, but what was the trigger that got you back on track?
Right. It was just, to be honest with you, it was just my determination. It was just my will, and it's just, you know, that it's not like I wanted to prove the doctors wrong. It's just that I knew I wanted something better for myself.
Right.
I knew that when he said you apply for disability, okay, and then go home and sit and do what? Do nothing?
Do nothing, right, yeah.
Okay, because that's what disability is. You wake up every day, you watching soap. No, I didn't want to do that.
Right.
So, you know, all I can just say, it was just a will and it's just a desire. And then, too, I just started praying. There is power in prayer. You know, some people don't believe it and some do, but there is power in prayer. And, before every test, before I read anything, before I do my homework, I start any assignments, I just pray and just ask God to give me the guidance and, to allow me to understand what I'm about to read.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, and then, too, not only wanting it to do it for myself, but do it for my parents. And,
right.
So there was a lot of different factors that, just turned it around for me.
I'm going to read just a few paragraphs here and there from the book. This is from Evelyn Bethune, who's, I think we're going to claim her because she's a Gator.
Okay.
She graduated from University of Florida.
Wow.
Okay, so we'll have to claim her here. She says, the journey, there is nothing new under the sun. There may be new technology and a new name, but the situations remain the same. The lessons to be learned are the same today as yesterday and tomorrow, which is what I agree with 100%. These are the lessons that we will value the most: learning respect, the difference between knowledge and wisdom, the value of remembering the past and building on it, patience, kindness, compassion, endurance, enjoying learning are all steps along the journey. And that's exactly what we've been talking about with education. And cell phones. Even though technology has changed, nothing's changed, as far as learning and all that. It's still the same.
Right.
If you don't apply yourself, it's nothing's going to happen. So yeah, I agree. I love that chapter, especially when she talks about the technology and nothing changes.
Right.
The other thing, I guess when your mom died, you had everyone coming out of the closet as far as trying to claim things that she owned. And you talk about the importance of a living will and life insurance policy, which I agree with you. I actually took an insurance class and it passed and was going to go into insurance, but that's probably the number one thing I got out of the class and everything is how important the living will and life insurance policy is. You want to talk a little bit about that? Because I know you're kind of doing that as well as far as a business, right?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I speak to groups all over the United States about how important it is to have a living will and life insurance policy. Right before my mother could not speak anymore, she pulled me and my two brothers together, and Mother had a net worth of $1.5 million, and she basically said split everything 3 ways. Well, I had one sibling. He was not interested in splitting anything. He wanted it all. Mother died at 3 a.m. By 12 noon. He had stolen everything of value. And one of the things that when I talk to people is that I tell them, because, my parents did not realize that my brothers didn't like me and I don't like them. Okay? We tolerate each other.
Right.
Okay? And I think there's just so much chaos that's going on in families today. People don't communicate. They holler, they scream and holler at each other. And, I think that you're mad at me because of this and that sort of thing. But be that as it may, I had to go on. I hired an attorney, spent over $25,000 fighting to get back what my mother wanted me to have. And so one of the things that I tell everybody is that I don't care if you have $1 or $100 million. Everyone needs a living will. Yeah. And basically what a living will, we know 2 things in life, and that is God brought us in, and at some point he's going to take us out, regardless if you're involved in a car accident or what have you.
Right.
And then, and what's really sad to me and heartbreaking for me is that, every time somebody on a national level passes, you would think that people would say, let me get my life in order.
Right.
But, too often, it's just the opposite. It's like people don't want to think about it. But, if you're a parent and you have a child that's under the age of 18, it's a must that you have a living will. There's no and, ifs, buts about it because, you just cannot assume that your husband or a family member is going to take your child. I'm dealing with a family right now that the 3 children are so hard-headed and they're so bad until none of the family members want to be bothered with them. So they just took them down to the police station and said, here, you deal with them.
Unbelievable.
Okay, and so, and I'm like that too. If I'm putting food on food in your mouth,
right,
and feeding you, and I'm help educating you, and I'm help grooming you, okay, and you're going to call me a name, and no. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, and you got some little skin-tight little pants on and body parts hanging out, and thinking you're going to drop it like it's hot, and you're 14 years old? No, ma'am. No, sir. No, that's not going to happen. So, my thing with it is that you've got to get your family in order, and it really takes less than an hour to get your will done. And so one of the things that I did is that I contacted what I thought was 3 of the top law firms across the United States and asked them if they would team up with me so that we could provide a living will, affordable living will for families. And, of course, I got phone calls back from all 3 of them. They was ready, willing, and able to jump on board because I'm bringing business to them.
Exactly.
But the thing is that their living wills were not affordable. And then a friend of mine contacted me and said, Teresa, look, you need to look at this company. And so basically I'm able to get people a living will for only $30 by an AV-rated law firm. If they go directly through the law firm, it's $1,500. If they come through me, it's only $30. So you have no excuse whatsoever to get a living will. And then normally when I go out and speak, I also have someone there as far as insurance is concerned so that you can make sure that your insurance policy, because another thing that people don't understand is that regardless if you like it or not or how bad or what it sounds like, it is your responsibility to pay for your funeral, regardless if it's cremation or what the situation is. It's your responsibility. You should not pass and then leave that, to somebody else to tend to. That's not right, nor is it fair.
Right. And I think the average funeral is what, $6,000 or $7,000 or something like that.
It's more like $6,000 to $8,000,
wow.
And the average cremation is $1,500 to $3,000.
Wow. Huh. Yeah. If anything, they should at least cover themselves for when they pass, because you don't want to leave all the responsibility to your spouse, especially if she doesn't have any money.
Right.
That's like you said, it's just wrong. So you are also you belong to, is it Legal Shield?
It's yes, Legal Shield, yes.
Legal
and that's
Shield,
what we get to
Okay, and you can set these things up for people, right? They can go through you?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, I do have your website here. It's www.legalshieldassociate.com, and I've got /go/Teresa Hailey.
Correct. That is the website.
Is there a phone number they can call you?
It's 303 562 7404.
All right. Very, very important. I used to be in the banking industry for a long time, and one time I was a branch manager. And when somebody passed and they had a box,
right,
it was there, and you should see all the family members, trying to, no, I'm going to open it. No, I'm going to open it. No, I got authority to open it. And there were fights in the lobby, and it was a mess, real mess. I don't think Prince had a living will.
No, he doesn't, and that's going to be in the courts for I don't know how long.
Isn't that a shame?
Crazy.
And it could have been, somebody like that should have set one up. There's no excuse. He had the money, and I don't know. I don't know what people are thinking. I just don't know.
Yeah. Another thing that I hear from people is they'll tell me, well, I have a life insurance policy at work. Mm-hmm. Well, and then the average person really don't know what they have at work.
They don't know what they got. They have no idea. They just know money's coming out of their paycheck and going into a life insurance policy, but they don't know.
Right. And they have no clue what it covers, how much it covers.
Yep.
If it's for me, if it's for my family members, they have no clue.
Exactly. Well, let's go back to the book a minute. Dr. Stan Harris, a.k.a. Dr. Breakthrough. Dr. Harris says, and I love this chapter as well, every master was at once a mess. Therefore, every mess can become a master, especially through mentorship. Here's a quote by Pablo Picasso: I'm always doing that which I cannot do in order that I may learn how to do it. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, you don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step and keep stepping. So he says, let me state again, every mess can be a master through mentorship, pressure, and time. He says Noah got drunk. Rahab was a harlot. Jacob was a manipulator. Peter cursed and denied the Lord. Mary got pregnant out of wedlock. Thomas was a doubter. David committed adultery. Paul killed Christians, and Moses even murdered a man. And he says, so there you go. These people had a mess, but look how they turned out. So this is just another one of the wonderful messages that you think that you can learn in the book. I also came up with a few examples of famous people they could have given up in life, but they continued. I mean, the list goes on, but I just picked a few. J.K. Rowling, she had just gotten divorced, was on government aid, and could barely afford to feed her baby in 1994, just 3 years before the first Harry Potter book. Stephen King, he was broke and struggling when he first was trying to write. He lived in a trailer with his wife, who was also a writer, and they both had multiple jobs to support the family while pursuing their craft. And they were so poor they had to borrow clothes for their wedding and had gotten rid of the telephone because it was too expensive. Tyler Perry had a rough childhood. He was physically and sexually abused growing up, kicked out of high school, and tried to commit suicide. Twice, once a preteen and again at 22. At 23, he moved to Atlanta and took up odd jobs as he started working on his stage career. A couple other examples was Colonel Sanders. He was fired from a variety of jobs through his career. And Sidney Poitier. After his first audition, Poitier was told by the casting director, why don't you stop wasting people's time and go out and become a dishwasher or something? So, I love it when there are examples like this, and that's why I love that chapter so much, how you can overcome obstacles and in your life, and I had it many times in my life, people saying, you can't do that, you're no good, and that's the thing that really discouraged you, I think, the most,
Right, most definitely. And even when it came down to writing books, I think when I was in high school is when I had a dream and a desire and a goal to write a book. And there's a millionaire who lives in the city, and he once remained anonymous, and I was at his mountain home and telling him about my story because, like I said, my mother died in 2006. It is now 2016, and I'm still in court with my brother. It's a long story while I'm in court, but he's basically appealing everything and trying to get everything overturned. And one of the things that this gentleman told me is that when of course, their family had millions and millions, but he told me that when they was at the funeral home, his parents, I think back in the olden days, people did not believe in life insurance policies, and they didn't believe in living wills and that sort of thing. They just believed that once they passed, the family was going to step in and do the right thing. But he said that while him and his brother was at the funeral home, they got into a fist fight.
Really?
One brother put the other one in the casket. The other one damaged the casket. They put a hole in the wall through the other brother. Yes, then picked up the chair, and the police was called. Both of them end up in jail, and to this day they haven't spoken to each other. And that's why I just try to tell families that this is going to happen at some point, at some time.
Exactly.
Make sure that you're protected. And you have to have that talk.
Yeah.
And so, at any rate, this gentleman told me, he said, Teresa, I want your story to be told. So he gave me a check, and I was just shocked. It just totally blew me away. I was shocked. And so, once again, it just goes to show that, I hear it from, regardless if it's Tyler Perry or Oprah Winfrey, and Oprah Winfrey is another person who had basically nothing and overcame.
That's right.
But there's this quote that I hear from all of them. I hear from Bishop T.G. Jakes and, everybody, is that if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Okay? And so when this gentleman gave me this money, he said, Teresa, I want you to write a book because, and at first, the first book was just going to be about me and about, the importance of having a living will and a life insurance policy.
Right.
But I went back to him and I said, look, I want this book to be a blessing to others. I'm starting hearing these different stories about, how somebody was affected by 9/11, how, somebody, and I said, I want to be able to give these authors, some of these people want to be authors and they have no clue and they probably don't have the money, but I want to be able to give them a chance and an opportunity. And then from that, I want to be able to take the money to help, different causes that's in the community. And so he was like, go for it.
Yeah.
You know, if that's what you want to do. And, you know, I just believe that if you help others get what they want, God would help you get what you want.
I believe
and
that. Yeah.
Through this book and this project, I cannot even begin to tell you the different opportunities. And, you know, it's certainly a big blessing for others. One of the, just to let you know, just real quickly, you know, I keep hearing about the violence that's all over the United States. And from 1980 to like 86, off and on, I was down at the Martin Luther King Center in Atlanta.
Right.
And Bernice King, years ago, rolled out a program, Nonviolence 365. And I've contacted the King Center, and one of the things that I want to do, we're going to try to have a big family day all over the United States, not just in Georgia, but all over the United States. We want to start running positive commercials on TV, radio stations, talk shows. Just we want people to see positive images. We want people loving each other, hugging each other, seeing black and white folks getting along. And, you know, just recently I've become aware of the number of police officers that's been shot. You know, police brutality is scandalous. And, you know, I realize that there's some good cops and there's some bad cops, and I understand that, okay? But when I see things like what happened in Kentucky, I'm just not understanding why people are so rude and why they're so mean. There's no reason for that type of behavior to be happening, you know. So one of the things that, and I've been doing during January through Martin Luther King, is producing nonviolent workshops in high schools here in Colorado, and they work out. The school principal gives us 45 minutes to come in. We have an assembly. We talk. We have a police officer that talks to kids when you're stopped by a police, how you're supposed to act. That is not your opportunity to start educating the police officers, start talking back. Because some of these incidents that you're seeing with police brutality, where now some of these things, when you see that a man was running and he shot in his back 15 times, I can't explain that. But some of these incidents, when you're seeing a child being thrown off, you know, or somebody shot or punched or whatever, you don't see what led up to that.
Right.
And some of the things that are happening, we could stop and we can prevent them ourselves.
Sure, I agree with you 100%. Like you said, there's good and bad in everything, you know, and there are a lot of great cops out there that do lots of good things for the community, and there are a few rotten apples. I mean, you know, there are some policemen out there that shouldn't be policemen. You know, they got in there, and you know, I mean, you don't have to be super educated to be a policeman. Let's face it, you know, you just have to, you know, get through the academy and whatever. But that happens in anything, you know, any job. You know, unfortunately, they have a gun. That's the difference. So when they screw up, they really can screw up, unfortunately.
Right.
But yeah. But this is a wonderful book. I am so happy I got to finally read it. In your chapter, I loved your chapter as well. In all our lives, we will experience some challenges. It took me a while to learn and understand that problem, and situations make you a stronger, wiser, and better person. Regardless of what mountain is in your way, always try to figure out how to climb it. Well said. Well said.
So true. So true.
And that's also a wonderful chapter. Every chapter is great. It's a good read. You know, it's not a long, lengthy book. You know, and what I always hated about certain stories or books or fluff, you know, they always add fluff just to make the book longer. You know, and I don't like that. And this book, there's no fluff. It's all, every chapter, every word is helpful, and everybody should read this book because I think it's a wonderful, wonderful book. What's next for you? What's in your plans? What do you got? You had the workshops, I guess, that you're going to be doing, I guess, with the high schools that you just mentioned.
Right.
Which is wonderful. You know, I wish they'd have a television station on you know, mainstream TV that had all positive things instead of watching bad stuff all the time on the news. You know, I really wish I know they have those kind of channels on the internet where it's all good news, you know, and things like that. But like you said, you know, I disagree with the news saying that, you know, the races are going backwards. I think that's just, you know, the bad apples that are causing all this stuff, because I think we're closer than we ever have been. And I can say that because I was the first one to get bused. I was in junior high school in Prince George's County, Maryland. We were the first ones to get bused when busing first started. And I was at a school that was 10 minutes from my house, and I got bused almost an hour away from my house into the African American neighborhood. And come to find out, that school was better than our school. It had rugs and beautiful school. It was exceptional. But I learned a lot from that experience. But it was rough times. It was tough times as well back then. But even back then, there were certain people that just didn't like you and things like that. You had to be a little tough when you got there. You couldn't be a wimp. You had to stand up for yourself. But we learned a lot, and we all got along together. And I think things are much better today. I think the news they just want to cause havoc. I think there's more husbands and wives that are mixed more than ever. I think that it's acceptable nowadays, where it wasn't acceptable. You go on TV and you see the Bachelor, and now they're mixed relations on The Bachelor. That wouldn't have happened 30 years ago, 40 years ago.
Right.
So I think things have improved tremendously. What do you think?
Well, I have mixed feelings about it. In some cases, I do agree with you 100% that it certainly has improved. I still think that we still have a long ways to go.
Right.
There are still companies, I won't call any names, that blacks and minorities are not on the board of directors, and there are still some cases where blacks are still the last hired and the first fired. So as far as relationships are concerned, I agree with you wholeheartedly. That 30 years ago would not have happened without someone being beat or hung.
Exactly.
There are still cities where blacks and minorities, it's not like there's a sign saying coloreds only or something, whites only or something like that. And I think even with the presidential election that's that's upon us right now, for me as an African American woman, it's kind of hard for me to vote for someone who publicly is denouncing women, denouncing race, bad-mouthing people, just acting like a child. I witnessed him on a microphone the other day. The mic would not work, and he's like, whoever the idiot is that put the microphone up here, here it is. We're trying to get people to communicate with each other. We're trying to get people to talk to each other.
Yeah.
And that's not the person I need in the White House calling somebody an idiot.
Yeah. Well, politically, we've gone downhill. That's for sure. There's no class in the White House. There's no, honor, and it just doesn't seem like there used to be. It just seems like there's scandal and this and that, whatever. And I don't know. Yeah, but I agree with you. He doesn't have class to be a president at all. He's not presidential in his way. I think people just want to vote for him because he's not a politician, and people are just tired of the same old politician. That's the only reason I can see. But you're right. If you're a woman, especially, you'd probably get offended for sure.
Yeah, and then too, what people don't understand, the large number of people that are voting for him, that want to get him in office, is that if you want America to go forward, that's not the person that you need to be representing you. And I'm sorry, but that's, if you want America to change and you want America to go forward, that's not what the person that you need, the caliber of person that you need representing you.
Right.
And bringing the community together. I'm sorry, but that's not it. But anyway, I realize that our time is pushing, and, just one thing that I would just like to share with people is to go out and get the book, and, of course, you can get it on Amazon.com. If you want to get in touch with me directly, of course, email me at teresahailee@yahoo.com. And, look out for me and, come into a city near you because, one of the things that I do want to do is go on a national tour. Not only with the book, I'm also going to pretty soon be releasing another book that talks about social paths. And,
Okay.
I have friends myself that have been ripped off and in a
Right.
relationship and have lost their whole entire life savings, really in a relationship with who they thought was their shining armor, and, just how a person who's a sociopath that can really disturb and tear up a family.
Was the sociopath also, was that kind of related to your brother as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
I think I did read that. Teresa, anything else you'd like to promote before we call it a day?
No, I think we've covered everything as far as the books are concerned, and
Okay.
That's about it. Like I said, I really appreciate you having me on the show.
Of course. Yeah, I definitely want to have you back again, and we'll get an update on how the book is doing, and if there's anything I can do to help promote it, count me in. I don't know if Oprah still has her book club, but it definitely belongs there. I know how hard it is to get in her book club.
It's definitely hard.
It's
you
very
got to know
difficult.
somebody.
Teresa, thank you so much for being on the show today. Please keep us posted with all your latest projects, and thank you for sharing all your stories and your personal life with us today, and God bless you.
Thank you so much. You have a great day.
You too. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
You can purchase Shining Stars, Inspiring Stories, and Simple Steps to Empower You to Achieve Your Highest Potential at Amazon.com. And to learn more about the importance of a living will and life insurance policy, please visit www.legalshieldassociate.com/go/Teresa Hailey. Coming up next on the Ray Shasho Show, blues guitarist, singer, and songwriter Albert Castilla. Please join me bi-weekly, Mondays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern on the Ray Shasho Show. Very special thanks today to the great Don and Doug Newsom with VBS Radio for making it all happen every show. If you have comments or suggestions or would like to be a guest on the Ray Shasho Show, call 941-877-1552 or email us at ray@publicityworksagency.com. Don't forget to purchase a copy of my book entitled Check the G's, the true story of an eclectic American family and their wacky family business, available now at Amazon.com. You'll live it. Have a great week, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Ray Shasho Show, brought to you by the Publicity Works Agency. Call 941-877-1552 or visit us at publicityworksagency.com. Specializing in author and music artist publicity plans. We shine when we make you shine. Join Ray Shasho every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern on VBS Radio, Station 1.